Good morning, campers, and welcome to Radio Camp Half-Blood. I'm B.
And I'm Zack.
And welcome to Radio Camp Half-Blood. This is chapter 18. Right, no, chapter 17. Oh, no, it is chapter 18. The thing is, I move my bookmark to the chapter we're talking about, but sometimes I forget and it's on the next chapter. But this time it's on the right one.
So, what's the name of this chapter?
Annabeth does obedience school. Another one of Rick Riordan's infamous misleading titles, or chapter titles at least.
I like to call it like the really not really chapter titles.
Yeah. This one, again, kind of misleading. I was really confused about this because I thought, like, for a split second that maybe I was, like, going crazy and I, like, skipped a chapter because I thought, like, oh, what's happening with Annabeth? She has to go to some sort of school? Like, I was ridiculous and, like, thought for some reason, there's like, oh yeah, there's like an obedience school for wayward half-bloods. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I obviously...
Were you thinking of it like English obedience school? It's like Annabeth has to like have like all the like 80,000 forks?
Obviously, once I read it, I realized that I was in the right place, but it was sort of, it took me a second to be like, wait, what? Why would Annabeth be going to school? And then I remembered that Rick Riordan is never straightforward with his chapter titles. So... Also, she doesn't go to obedience school, she does obedience school, which is kind of like a weird sentence in general. If anything, she would like be conducting obedience school, or in this chapter, it's kind of just like a weird way to phrase it.
It just reminds me of when I think of obedience school, I think of the episode of Flapjack where Flapjack becomes like an aristocratic dandy. And it's like, you have playtime now, Flapjack, and he like hops on like a wooden lamb.
A wooden lamb?
Like, there's like a wooden lamb. It's like really funny because it's just like this awkward, like, guess his playtime is like a wooden lamb.
It doesn't do anything. So it's like a rocking horse kind of.
It's the one with his powder, Charles, powder.
I had a wooden rocking horse as a child that I loved, actually.
Which, oh no.
Yeah. I was very boring. Though I did break it because I was too, like, enthusiastic about it. And so the handle broke. Also, my sister and I would try to fit like two to a ride, I guess.
Two to a pony?
Yeah, two to a pony. Well, because we only had one rocking chair, or one rocking horse, and two people. So it would be like, we kind of fight over who would get to have the rocking horse. And then we also had like those hobby horses, you know, just like the stick with a head. Yeah, the ones who got the hobby horses were considered kind of like not as cool, because we also used to only have one hobby horse, which was also a hand-me-down from my mom's little sister. So like literally it was from the 60s.
So it had plenty of arsenic and lead paint.
Probably, now that I think about it, it probably did have lead paint. It's literally so old that one time I was playing like an I Spy game on my computer, and literally that exact hobby horse was in the picture. So he like went to like some, like the guy who makes those I Spy things, he goes to like antique shops and gets like all these weird things and arranges them in like kind of a interesting tableau for the different I Spy like books and games and stuff. And it was the same one. It was the same design, which is funny. But then we actually got, like, the new, fancier hobby horses, which had, like...
Hobby 2.0.
Well, because, yeah, like, the stick was made out of plastic instead of, like, splintery nightmare wood. And the head was, like, a plush, almost. So it was, like, a plush stuffed animal of a horse. And if you pressed its ear, it would make, like, clopping and, like, neighing noises.
So what did you think of this chapter this week, B?
It's kind of like what I would call like an interlude, I guess, of a chapter, because really, even though we're finally getting to the part where they enter the underworld, it's not super climactic because they don't really, it just kind of shows their entering process. So it just goes from them finding dead on arrival place and then being able to like sneak past Cerberus. And that's like the entirety of the scope of the chapter, which is fine. It's interesting, but I want to get to the next one, and it's really hard for me to not skip ahead this week because I want to see what the underworld is like and what they encounter.
Well, we do. We kind of learn a little bit about the underworld death.
A little bit, and you also see some of the dead people waiting in line, and you're like on the river Styx, and like looking down and seeing all the weird garbage floating in there. So that's interesting. I'm like excited to see what happens next, and it's hard for me to wait.
We're getting very close to the end. We only have less than 100 pages.
I can't believe we're so close. Finally, it only took us months and months.
Oh, and then there's much more, so don't worry about that, everybody. We're going to cover as many books as we can until one of us ends up in the underworld.
Yeah. I hope not the underworld.
I'll just call you I'll be looking up. Listeners, I'm just looking up right now.
Wait, are you already in the underworld? That's the plot twist of this podcast, is the whole time you've been podcasting from down there. They have surprisingly good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's the Wi-Fi right next to the Starbucks that's down here because there's Starbucks everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I love the sign as soon as they make their way to DOA Recording Studios is the no solicitors, no loitering, no living. It's like, I feel like that kind of joke would have fit in really well with something like Beetlejuice. Actually, this scene a lot reminded me of Beetlejuice in general. The waiting room of death? Yeah, like the sort of bureaucracy of death. It was very reminiscent of that.
It wasn't even like the bureaucracy of death. It's just Carrion basically being I can do whatever I want. I get paid not much. It's an average 9 to 5 type of job.
Yeah, can you imagine being an intern for the dead, not even being any way dedicated to your job?
B, you know what this is the equivalent of, and I think I know why Rick Riordan wrote it this way. Rick Riordan has a vendetta against the DMV because this is exactly what it's like being in the DMV.
Yeah, it does have a DMV vibe to it for sure, the really long lines. Though I'm lucky because I've never waited super long at the DMV.
Oh, I hate the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Does a sloth work at yours?
I don't know.
Let me get that.
It's there's a picture of the person dressed up as Flash, the sloth,
yeah, I saw
at the
that.
DMV. That's a job.
You gotta have a sense of humor if you're working at the DMV, because I'm sure that the only thing worse than going to the DMV is being the person who works there and has to be there every day, because that is so the epitome of a Kafka-esque bureaucratic nightmare. Just really depressing, the same stuff every day, filing paperwork and seeing a long line of people, and everyone is in a terrible mood, and then you have to take their picture. The whole thing is not the best.
Are you describing Carrion's job a little bit here? Because this is exactly what it is.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's kind of the worst job to have. So I kind of feel sympathy, even though that going there also sucks.
Yeah, so they get into DOA records, and there's just a long line of people, and they skip the line to talk to the man in charge of the line. And Percy asks him, first off, his name is Carrion, but the way Percy pronounces it is Creon. Yeah. We're going to get into weird Greek things where names sound similar a little bit. So this is where Carrion has to totally
So is it Carrion or Charon? Because there's no I.
Is it Carrion?
I think it's Charon. Or Charon? Yeah, Charon.
It's Charon, yeah.
Not to be confused with Chiron.
Chiron, yeah. See, it's so how you would pronounce it is Careon. Charon. See, we're already getting mixed up, and it's
confusing.
Charon has to explain why his name's Charon and not Carrion.
Which is fair, considering Carrion means, dead bodies.
Dropping off or picking up?
I was pronouncing the H for some reason. Yeah, Charon.
Oh my god, this is a train wreck with just imagine ancient Greeks are yeah, maybe we should have names that just sound very similar to each other. So 1,000, 2,000 years down the line, some guy writes a book about it. Yeah, sounds good, Larry. No, my name's Clary. Oh. Just a bunch of mixed up stuff.
Yeah, I love that he calls Chiron that old horseman, which, I mean, in retrospect, that rocking horse that I had was kind of the old horseman. I think it was made by my weird uncle who makes those bizarre sculptures of different whimsical woodland creatures that I think I've mentioned before. It was that same guy made my incredibly old-timey rocking horse that I think was maybe for decoration.
Oh, but you played with it. But it's here I just imagine how often he gets so pissed off about this, how people confuse his name. It probably happens a lot.
I
It's a
mean,
great little joke that they have.
as a twin, I really understand the experience of having people mistake your name. That doesn't really happen to me anymore because we look super different now. But there were times when people would not only confuse me with my sister, but then they would say my sister's name wrong. So they'd be like, okay, my sister's name is Taryn, for those not in the know. And they'd be like, hey, Taryn or something, or Tara. And I'd be like, you're so off base. You don't even got the same person. So that's, I mean,
Oh, I have such a good story. I have a good friend who I'm not gonna say his name. Me and him, we look very similar from the back of the head. So if you see us from the back,
from the back.
yeah, from the back,
Identical butts, just the same exact butt.
exactly. So people would get us confused, and then he would turn around, and there's a distinct difference between me and him, and that is he has a prosthetic leg. So people would always have. So people would always have to check first before us, but they'd always call me by his name, and they'd always call him by my name.
Yeah, check the leg, I guess. That's a good general rule, is if you know someone with a prosthetic leg, it's probably pretty easy to pick which one, unless you have multiple friends with prosthetic legs, which I guess is a possibility.
No, he's like one of the nicest guys that I know. It's just really funny. That's like that's how we had to
Any
identify.
chance is your friend named Augustus Waters?
No, he's not.
No. Do you know what I'm referencing, or you're just like,
Is it Fault in Our Stars?
yes, Fault in Our Stars. Yeah.
I see. I might not have read the book, but I can culturally pick up the stuff because I did go to high school when that book was big.
You were in, oh, wait a second. You were in high school when that book was big? I forget that you're younger than me. I was in
By
college
like
already.
2 years. It was junior year.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That was also the same year that I saw there was this girl that was trying to close read 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh no. Don't get so close that you can read it. How about that?
So they get to this weird dead DMV, and it is something like out of Beetlejuice, where you just see people just patiently waiting in line. There's like easily listening on the radio, and it's like truly hell on earth. But it's like that weird type of calm, so they start talking to him, and of course, he corrects Percy. They have a foolproof plan. Are you ready to hear this, B?
Yep.
Are you ready for their foolproof plan?
What's their foolproof plan?
Hey, we're all dead. We'd like to go to the underworld.
Yeah, and then they immediately know they're not dead.
No, not that. I just love it's like, so how'd you die? Oh, we all drowned in a tub. All three of you? Yeah, it was a big tub.
all of us in a tub together.
It's like, yeah, it was a big tub.
Not super convincing. Yeah, I like how Charon immediately is like, you couldn't read my name correctly. Are you dyslexic, lad? He's like, no, I'm dead. Because being dead makes you dyslexic.
One of my favorite parts is kind of like how you pay the toll. It's kind of like, as kids, it's almost impossible. Like, you're stuck here in purgatory, but like as an adult. Normally with adults, you see, I could charge your American Express or add the ferry price to your last cable bill. But with children, alas, you never died prepared. Suppose you have to take another seat for a few extra centuries.
That's pretty rough.
Just imagine getting that, like your loved one getting that bill for your cable.
Yeah. That would really suck. I mean, not to be too dark, but sometimes we still get bills for like my dad's hospital bill. And I'm like, okay, listen, enough of you. That's rude. One time when I worked at that dental office, this woman's husband who had passed away was on like the robo list of like, it automatically sent out like a dental reminder. Like, oh, you should get a cleaning, whatever. But we look forward to seeing your smile, basically, is what it said. And it sent one to the dead person. And she called and was very offended and was like, my husband is gone. That's disgusting. That's grotesque. We look forward to seeing you smile. He can't smile anymore. Like, she was really incredibly offended. So then,
Oh, you were just like, miss, it's a robot. How could we know?
He was just on a list. It's not like we wrote that by hand. But I had to like write on a sticky note, blah blah blah's husband is dead, underline, underline, underline. And then my coworker was like, why does this say that so and so is dead? And I'm like, oh well, because he got a reminder to come get a cleaning, and I think his teeth are fine now.
They're whiter than they've ever been.
Yeah.
But stop that tooth decay in its steps.
Well, you don't really care about tooth decay when all of your other self is decaying. So Very dark.
Secretly, that one person that made that phone call is listening to our show right now.
That would be so weird because she was really old. If the 85-year-old woman who was calling about her husband is somehow listening 20 minutes into this recording of our podcast about a children's book series, then I would really be floored, honestly.
It was Harold's favorite book series before he passed.
Before he went into the great beyond, he really loved Rick Riordan, what a clever infotainment man. Like, no, that's not... I can't conceive of a reality where that would happen. I can't conceive of a reality where someone of that age would care to learn how to listen to podcasts, because my mom doesn't even know how to listen to podcasts, so...
What? Do they go on vinyl records now? What about those wax cylinders that are all the rage now?
Yeah, can we just release our podcast on wax cylinders only, and we just, like, toss them to just random passersby, like, here you go, it's my mixtape.
Oh, as we drive around on our Model T?
Yep, exactly. Our, like, Nightmare Mobile Model T that doesn't have, like, any safety features or, like, an airbag or something.
And the only seatbelt's a rope.
No, actually, I'm just driving around on my penny farthing. It has, like, a little bell. Bring, bring.
So they talk to Charon, and they kind of convince him that they still want to go down by bribing him.
Yeah, because he hasn't seen real money. This really made me think, like, he totally is living that intern life of, like, he barely gets paid anything, and he's like, oh, well, I haven't seen real drachmas in a long time, so... And he gets really, greedy about the money.
He doesn't get greedy, he just likes his nice Italian suits that he wears now.
Yeah. This character reminded me a lot of, God, no, I can't think of his name. Kravitz from The Adventure Zone.
A little bit, yeah, exactly. Like he sounds like Kelsey Grammer. A little bit.
Yeah, just like the physical description of him, and then he's like lording over the place of dead people. It has a similar vibe.
If I had to pick someone to be this person, I would actually pick like Debbie Diggs.
Oh, that would be a great casting choice.
Like that's like when I hear his voice, that's what I think of. It's like just so smooth.
Mm-hmm. David Dick. That's like a very, very good casting choice.
That's my fan cast for that, and I know now people are like screaming, like yes, make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not. Well, hold on a second. Is this a character in the movie?
Yeah.
Do you know off the top of your head who was cast as him?
No, because everyone in that is a bunch of nobodies.
Everyone is that as yeah, it's nobody, right?
And people are like, well, Logan Lerman and Sean Bean are in the movie, and I'm just like, okay. When have they headlined a movie recently?
That's true. They were Logan Lerman was in
Bridge to Terabithia.
No, you're thinking of Josh Hutcherson, though they are.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Logan Lerman was in Hoot.
He was in Hoot. He was also in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, but this was years ago.
He hasn't since been in much, actually, which kind of is sad.
I guess there's Pierce Brosnan, but he's on his way out, unfortunately, even though I like him. He's in Mamma Mia too. Here we go again.
Is that the subtitle? If it's not, then it should be.
That is.
Okay. Yeah, because that has to happen. Clearly.
I like this character a lot because he knows his role a little bit, and he's just like, yeah, people die all the time. Follow me, children. And all the dead people are really upset because they've been waiting a long time.
I mean, they're also dead, so what are they going to do?
And the reason how they get to go down to the underworld is that Percy agrees that he's going to talk to Hades about getting him a possible pay raise.
As if he would have any clout whatsoever to get a pay raise of this guy. Like, hey, I know I'm invading your underworld secretly and I'm not actually dead, but can you give a raise to the guy waiting at the desk up there?
He was a really nice man.
Is he technically a man? What is he?
He's a spooky skeleton.
Yeah.
They explain later on that he's humanoid, so he's a man-ish.
He looks like a man.
He's a dead man. Because they talk about...
Okay, he's a zombie.
No, he's a spooky ghost. But as they're walking away, my favorite line of this entire book kind of comes up.
Yeah.
And if anyone moved the dial of my easy listening station again, I'll make sure that you're here for another 1,000 years. Understand?
I love that just, like, basically the Guardian of Hell loves to listen to music. That's just such a great detail. Like, of course, that makes sense.
it's easy listening. I imagine like he's more of like a smooth jazz type of person.
Well, yeah, they don't they describe it as music though. It's like it's like do 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 do.
So like like a step above elevator music. Though I just like imagine like he listens to podcasts now.
That would be funny.
What
podcast do you think he would listen? Yeah.
I feel like
Same brain.
I feel like
My Favorite Murder?
Yeah, oh man, that's the first one I was going to bring up.
Yeah, definitely My Favorite Murder.
I'm sorry. And you just see like a bunch of all the serial killers just waiting as they're making fun of them.
Oh, that would be really awkward, right? Oh no, there's John Wayne Gacy. Don't make eye contact. Oh, why did he have to wear the clown outfit?
Whatever floats his boat here in Hades. Get it? Floats your boat. Float the boat. It's a little bit of dead humor.
That joke certainly was dead.
Well, it was dead on arrival, B.
Just a moment of silence for that. All right.
Yeah, but so they get on to the River of Styx, which has no... I have to read this little note for my lawyers. This has no correlation with the band Styx whatsoever.
No correlation.
No correlation. Except in The Simpsons, they did an episode about Homer's Odyssey where he actually does do the Odyssey by Homer. And he's going through the River Styx and they're playing Styx. And it was like one of the greatest jokes in the world. So they start going through and it's like this weird like amalgamation of like dead bodies and like trash.
Yeah, it's disgusting. There's just weird stuff floating all in there. It makes me think a lot of going on the It's a Small World ride. You just look down, you see all sorts of weird stuff floating in there.
Except for here, it's a little sadder because it's just like people's hopes and dreams and then people themselves.
The people are sadder than the stuff in the water, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just imagine that for a second. Like you like scoop out a little bit of it and it's just like...
I mean, there's so many pennies at the It's a Small World ride. Like you look down and it's just like a sea of copper.
Well, the cool thing that Disney does is that once a year they drain out all the water and then they donate all that to a charity.
It's a good idea. I think when I went there, it just was at peak capacity because there were so many.
At peak penny capacity?
Yeah, it was just completely like coated the bottom.
Yeah, no, just like you just like pull out like a little soul. It's like, oh look, this guy wanted to be an astronaut. This person wanted to make a successful podcast. Oh wait, that's me.
You're just naming me at different ages. At least I'm aiming lower now. Literally, I'm not shooting for the stars. When I was 5, I wanted to be an astronaut. It was a very ill-advised career decision.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a forensic scientist.
That makes a lot of sense. That kind of tracks with everything that you are.
I used to just watch nothing but like court TV as a kid.
Yeah.
So
that's like, a little unnerving. I bet that kind of concerned your parents.
No, they loved it. My mom was like, Zach, it's gonna be a little scientist.
That's adorable. I don't know why I thought that I could be an astronaut. I just really liked Buzz Lightyear. I didn't know how to do math really well. I was particularly bad at math. It was my worst subject. I was never physically fit. I could never do the monkey bars because of my lack of upper body strength. Like just all of these signs pointed to no as far as astronaut is concerned. But somehow I was like, well, I really like Buzz Lightyear and the concept of going to the moon. That's kind of all that pushed me forward.
To infinity and beyond.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, so they're going through the river and they finally get to the other side, and this is where like the cool thing I like about Percy Jackson is they don't sugarcoat death whatsoever. There's both like good people and bad people here. And death is like a lonely business here a little bit.
It's very sad. Also, it's funny that they describe, I love this passage. I'm not sure what I was expecting. Pearly gates or a big black portcullis or something, but the entrance to the underworld looked like a cross between airport security and the Jersey Turnpike.
That just sounds depressing. Like, again, the way they describe it is like you go from DMV to airport security, plus this is like 2005, 2006, where there's still a lot of security at airports, so it's just...
I mean, there's still a good amount, but yeah.
But this is like, you had to be at the airport like 3 hours early type of...
I love that they have like easy death, like easy paths. Yeah, easy pass. I thought that was really funny.
Oh, like fast passes?
Yeah. I totally have an easy pass.
My favorite thing, again, this is like weird Rick Riordan trying to be hip with the kids with his references or trying to include the world. and how like while you're waiting in line, there's like three judges that like rotate out, and the three judges, they switch around who sits on the bench. King Midas, Thomas Jefferson, Shakespeare, people like that. Sometimes they look
Yeah.
at life and decide the person needs a special reward in the fields of Elysium.
That's not too much of. Oh yeah, you know how the kids love Shakespeare. Like those are those references weren't too current.
Not the kids like Shakespeare, but it's like, hey, it's hip for the kids. Like, who wants to be, judged by people that are morally ambiguous at best?
Yeah, that's true. I guess King Midas was always known as a good judge, though. That's kind
No,
of
he
his
wasn't.
deal.
That's where you got the term jackass from.
Oh wait, no, not King Midas. I'm thinking of I was thinking of King Solomon, not King Midas. King Solomon would be better, right? Because he was really good at judgment.
Even Thomas Jefferson I would consider good, but I think William Shakespeare would be like, I wrote about this in Hamlet. Just kill everybody.
Yeah, not exactly the best judges. Thomas Jefferson, not the coolest guy.
Shakespeare, debatable if he was a real person.
Debatable if he was a real person?
I kind of believe in the anonymous theory a little bit.
Wow, you don't think that Shakespeare was a real person?
Oh, I believe he was a real person, but I don't think he wrote all of his plays.
Oh, so like some of them were ghost written, you mean?
Most of them are good. There's a lot of evidence. The main piece of evidence is you're William Shakespeare. Let's just say.
Okay, I'm William Shakespeare.
You're one of the smartest people that knows the English language very well. What do you do? What is the first thing you teach your kids?
English? Yeah.
Yeah, all his kids were illiterate.
That's weird. Was he just like kind of a jerk dad who didn't care?
But wouldn't that defeat the purpose if you're like William Shakespeare, the bard?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
And also like the stuff that he talked about in a lot of his plays, for a person that never left England, understood both Venetian law, politics, and a lot of weird things from different countries.
You're kind of convincing me a little bit.
Like, I'm not like talking about like the world's flat type of thing. Like, there's actually evidence to back this theory a little bit.
Yeah, you should go on the Lizard People podcast and talk about this theory.
Well, no, there's many. I've read a couple books on it. It's like an interesting little thing because there's many people that actually there's some that consider actually a woman wrote all of his plays. She just used his name.
Yeah, well, if anything was written by a woman back then, no one cared or wanted to say it was written by a woman because misogyny. So, I think that that's a pretty believable theory.
You would imagine, are they high art or low art, B, for all of his plays?
What do you mean?
Like, would you consider Shakespeare to be like high art or low art? Like, they're like...
Probably like more low art, right? Because he kind of made
It was lowbrow.
like a lot of
It was
yeah.
It was like watching reality TV. It was trash.
Yeah, well, because it was like almost like a soap opera kind of thing going on, and then also they made a lot of like crude jokes.
Less Moliere and more, I guess like Jersey Shore a little bit.
Yeah, the South Park of his time. Kind of true, weirdly enough.
Hi everyone. Welcome to the Theater History Conspiracy Podcast.
You should do that though. That if anybody could host it, it's you.
So as they're walking through, they see a lot more people that are being punished because if you're good, you go to the Fields of Elysium, where it's basically the equivalent of like super amazing fun park.
It's heaven, right? It's not heaven, but it is heaven.
It's not heaven. It's just like you get to live in mansions and like have like bouncy castles in all your rooms.
It's like The Good Place, right? Like if you've seen
bit.
that show, The Good Place.
Yes, or like defending your life. Like you get to decide if you want to like, move on or like just stay and be a spooky ghost.
I love that movie. I want to do a bonus episode about that movie, but there's really no reason to.
I would love to do a bonus episode about that movie. But it's kind of, that's what I think of when I think of the afterlife a little bit. I think of like defending your life.
I mean, The Good Place is totally, in a way, a spiritual successor to that. It's like they're super similar. Anything that takes death and makes it almost businesslike or bureaucratic and sets up like almost these human organizational parameters on the process of death, they kind of all have something in common.
Unless it's Little Nicky, then don't go to that version of death.
Yeah, no, that's just like, isn't he like the son of Satan or something?
Yeah,
in
he's
that?
the son of Satan.
Yeah, very dumb. It's a very dumb movie. It's very bad. They played it way too much on Comedy Central in like the mid-2000s.
I think one of my favorite parts of this as well is they meet like a preacher. Oh yeah, I did remember now. He'd seen him on TV a couple times at Yancey Academy's dorms. He was that annoying televangelist from upstate New York who raised millions of dollars for orphanages and then got caught up spending the money on stuff for his mansion like gold-plated toilet seats and his indoor putt-putt golf course. He died in a police chase when his Lamborghini from the Lord went off a cliff.
I love when they refer to upstate New York because I always like wonder like where would that be? Around here?
I don't know. Did you have any weird televangelists who like embezzled money?
No, but we do have like a
There's also like a great quote in this. It's like with the priest, like he doesn't know if he's like in heaven or like his version of like his afterlife might be what he perceives as hell or heaven, which I think is so fascinating in this that it's like, again, this is Rick Riordan kind of stepping back and saying that all religions, not are all the same, but it's like he's trying to like walk that fine line between the personification of death from different religions.
Yeah, Grover was like, who says he's seeing this place the way we're seeing it? Humans see what they want to see. They're very stubborn or persistent that way.
Which I think is like a great little message because it doesn't talk down to any particular religion. It's like you all go to this one place of death, which is kind of like a hub, but everyone perceives it in much different ways depending on what you believe in.
Though it does say that humans are stubborn, so it's kind of like a funny backhanded compliment a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Though I think like this version of death is cool, but I think my favorite version of death is going to Valhalla.
Yeah, I don't know much about that, really.
There is Magnus chasing the gods of Asgard.
That's true. We'll learn about that. I mean, all I know about Nordic stuff is God of War, the recent God of War game.
Okay, so to sum up Valhalla before we get to Magnus chasing, it's like 6 years. Is that so? You go to this place, but you're judged if you do a heroic deed. So you're basically like the warriors of Odin.
Well, because it's like the Mad Max Fury Road
Valhalla.
has Valhalla in it.
But yeah, so you are judged by these women called the Valkyries that pick your soul up and they send you to Valhalla, where you pretty much eat all day, and then at night you fight, and when you die, you come back the next day. You basically train for the rest of your life until Ragnarok happens. And you have to defend the world. It's so cool.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, it's so cool. What are you talking about? It's like the heavy metal version.
But I wouldn't want to fight.
Well, you have to do something super heroic to go to Valhalla.
Yes, I wouldn't end up there anyway, but yeah, I wouldn't want to have to train to fight in Ragnarok. That doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, well, you learn. You get to... they'll explain more about it in that book series, but we're going to keep more to Percy Jackson right now. I just find it to be the most fascinating out of all the afterlives because it's set up in this way where,
I actually have a question about that.
Yes.
So the Magnus Chase books, do they take place in the same universe as Percy Jackson?
I'm going to say, man, Marvel does a really good cinematic universe. If only Rick Riordan did it the literary way. Oh, wait. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So it's sort of like the same universe, but there's different afterlives?
So the way I'm going to just say it, because this isn't really a spoiler, but all the books are connected in one way, shape, or form. They'll either have like a weird offhanded comment or directly have things. So they do make references to other characters in the universe. I want to say yes, but it's like you might not be the way that you think it's connected. People have been calling it like the Pantheon literary universe. A little bit.
Okay, I see. I could kind of guess at how it's connected. All right, I'm not gonna pry too much for fear of giving away too much about the other books, but
Rick Riordan does do weird fan fictions of his characters from other books coming together in like the most fan fiction-esque ways possible. Like think of like some of the worst like crossover things. Like we were walking down the street and all of a sudden we see that character from this other book. And then all of a sudden a monster appears.
Yeah. Bit fan servicey, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that. I do kind of like this, there's personification of death as well as it's like, also like death here isn't as grim, isn't as what people perceive death as, is like super grim and like depressing. Kind of like the devil with the pitchfork or like Dante's Inferno a little bit. And how that version of death, it just gets worse the farther you go in to the rings.
Yeah. The different levels.
Yes, of heck.
I think hell is fine to say, right?
Heck
For
yeah.
children.
Heck yeah.
They do make it to the weird underworld place via the river Styx, and there's none other than Cerberus, the adorable three-headed puppy.
It's Pupper Cerberus. It's trying to guard the gates of heck. But no, it's
Yeah,
like,
adorable.
it's really big. This Pupper Cerberus is the big puppo.
Great big doggo.
It's big doggo. It's like it's a Dachshund.
That would be so funny if it was little, if it was just a teeny tiny three-headed dog. Just like a three-headed Rosie, just like a Shih Tzu.
No, it's like a little pug.
That would be so cute. Oh no, what if each head was a different kind of dog? That would also be cute. It was like a pug and a corgi and a Shih Tzu.
I feel like that would be even worse. I feel like it has to be like just one central. Just okay. If it was a corgi, just imagine like a gigantic, like 6 bear sized corgi with like little corgi butt and then 3 corgi heads.
I would want to pet it so much.
It would be like this
It
wolf.
would take so much for me to not pet that dog. I'd be like, oh, this is how I die? Great. This is exactly how I want to die.
So while they're there, Cerberus automatically smells that they're alive.
Yeah, obviously, that's his job.
He's a good boy. Good doggo.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, I was sure that at any moment, she would become the world's largest milk bone dog biscuit.
So what Percy does is the first thing they can think of, which, for me, I've perceived that all dogs are smart and don't believe in the stick method. Percy pulls out a stick and tries to, like, throw it. And the dog's kind of interested in it, but Percy's an idiot and throws it into the river Styx.
Uh-huh. That's why they call it the river Styx.
Oh, no. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Luckily, Annabeth has a plan. She pulls out a little rubber ball.
Yeah, I like how she just had that waiting in the wings.
Well, she did because it makes sense because she grabbed it at the water park.
I'm not sure why she would grab a rubber ball, though. It's kind
She
of
was just
funny.
grabbing anything possible. Or, they still have to, if she knows her myths, they still have to get past Cerberus.
Yeah, I guess maybe she was thinking ahead. She's like, see the ball? You want the ball?
You gotta remember that Annabeth's mom is Athena, goddess of wisdom and warfare.
So, yeah, the wisdom thing, I guess, comes in handy. She kind of thinks ahead a little bit.
Which is smart because Percy would have been, like, hecka murdered.
Yep, definitely. So, go fetch. She throws the ball.
And the Cerberus, like, is such a good pupper. Like, he runs and grabs the ball, except they only have one ball.
Because the poor thing, he has to, be sniffing around the underworld all day. He doesn't get to play fetch.
No, and Hades doesn't want to play fetch with his dog. He's only had him for thousands of years. It's a good boy. It deserves better. Annabeth forms this bonding relationship with Cerberus. It's like a horse movie.
Go on. I can't see you anymore. It's like that scene in Air Bud. There's no rule in the rule book that says the 3-headed giant dog can't play basketball.
Ah, shucks. Or it's kind of like, I just imagine the poster for that book is the Free Willy. It's just, but it's like Cerberus just jumping in the air.
Yeah, just jumping in the air.
As Annabeth, like, is jumping as well.
Adorable.
So there are, like, different versions of Cerberus, which I like if we look at, hey guys, get your bingo boards ready. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We have that version, which is Fluffy, which apparently in that universe, there's just a bunch of 3-headed dogs that are Cerberus.
Yeah, that's just kind of a breed of dog, I guess.
Yeah, there's a breed of dog. And then, like, if you remember, like, in Hercules, that version of Cerberus is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it also just like a friend?
A little bit. I think it's like for us, we would be terrible because we just want to hug the puppy.
Oh, yeah. I would immediately die, for sure.
We both die.
If it was a giant, like, Norwich Terrier, come on. I'm gonna pet that dog. Pet all 3 of its heads.
I think it was in Billy and Mandy, there was actually a version of that where there was a 3-headed Cerberus. One actually had a Chihuahua head, one of them was a Poodle, and then one of them was a Doberman.
Oh, so this joke has been done before.
This joke has been done before.
Yeah.
I think it's in Billy and Mandy. If someone please tell me if I'm right, because I'm not going to look it up.
I'm not gonna Google it. You just kind of have to email us.
You're going to have to email us about this. But I just remember because there's a joke where they, like, go potty on a tree and it just bursts into flames.
Such ripe material for jokes is the Cerberus thing, because just people love to make puppy jokes. Like, get it? He's friendly like a dog.
Until he bites your face off.
That's most dogs, I guess.
Though I'd want to get okay. If I was to die, it would be from a puppy attack, where it's just a bunch of like a stampede of puppies.
Yeah, it's less like one single dog, but more just like a drowning of almost a liquid consisting of a lot of tiny puppies.
Just it's like Lion King. Long live the king.
Yeah, you just get stampeded. That would be fine. I would accept that fate.
I'm awaited in Papala.
Oh no. We're doing this now. Palhalla, where all your pals go.
Yeah, suddenly they get detected for some reason because they go through the metal detector that says that they're alive. So Cerberus is just there for show, apparently.
Yeah, he's there. Well, it's kind of like how people go through scanners and they also have drug sniffing dogs. So it's like a dual security method.
But yeah, so they're found out. They're found and they're dead. So they start running, and like Annabeth looks back as sad Cerberus like whimpers and like sad because, Annabeth just made a friend.
Yeah, she like immediately becomes for the Cerberus, and then she's like sad for leaving him behind, which is really sweet.
Or she's like, I'll come back for you. We'll play again.
I pretended not to see Annabeth wipe a tear from her cheek as she listened to the mournful keening. Is it keening? Yeah. Keening of Cerberus in the distance, longing for his new friend. His new friend, Zack. That's so cute.
Annabeth's like, we have to go back for him.
I would go back for him.
The chapter ends with like that, because little do they know their plan is about to come to fruition. Because the next chapter is called...
We find out the truth, sort of.
Is that helpful, B?
No, not at all. Do we find out something about the, what is it? Not the prophecy, the thing, the future thing. What is it called?
The feud?
No, I mean like the prophecy. Yeah, like yes, the dreams, but also just like about how Percy's going to be betrayed by someone. So I'm imagining something about the Oracle. Maybe. They hear a little bit of it. Something gets explained, but they're a little confused. And probably the bolt isn't going to be where they think it is. I think there's going to be a big crazy plot twist.
So you want me to refresh you with the prophecy once more?
Yeah.
You will go west and shall face the god who was turned. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by the one you call a friend, and you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. Next chapter, we're going to find some stuff out. What do you think is going to all go down?
I feel like we're probably going to find out that the bolt isn't here, because like that's kind of what the dreams have been hinting at, that it's somewhere else. That it maybe wasn't Hades that stole it, and maybe Hades will tell the truth about that. I don't know if we're going to find out yet who Percy's going to be betrayed by, or if we're going to find that out like the last chapter or something. I still feel like it has to be either Grover or Annabeth. I feel like Annabeth because of like her whole weird birth feud. Poseidon, something might happen with that, or it'll be something with Grover trying to find Pan. Those are like the two reasons why they would probably betray him, so it's something like that, I'm assuming. Or maybe he makes another friend, but like those are really the people he considers his friends. I don't know. I expect that we're not going to really find out everything next chapter.
You won't save what matters most in the end.
I mean, it says that you will see the bolt safely returned, so that's not the thing that matters most in the end. So the thing that matters most in the end would probably be his mom. So he fails to save his mom, I imagine. Unless it's, like, again, one of his friends also. Yeah, one of them betrays him and the other dies.
You shall go west and face the god who was turned.
Yeah, I mean, the god who was turned, is that not Zeus?
I'm not saying anything.
Maybe Zeus, it wasn't actually stolen and Zeus is lying and there's some sort of weird thing going on with that. And that's what Hades is going to say. Maybe I'm like saying exactly the plot and you're just being really quiet. Or I'm totally off base. Who knows?
We're going to play it back, Johnny, at the end of these episodes. But, we're getting to it. We only have maybe less than 100 pages left of this book.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard not to read ahead.
I really have been enjoying this. This has been so much fun doing all this. Because all the other books are kind of shorter compared to this book.
Mm-hmm. So this is the longest one.
Yes.
And then we're going to watch the first movie, right, after we're done with this?
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. I was talking to someone recently. I mentioned I did a Percy Jackson podcast. She was like, oh, I really love the movie. And I was like, I heard the movie was really bad. And she's like, I've never read the books. Maybe they're probably better. They're probably better.
I'm going to need some, while we're watching that, I'm going to need some adult ambrosia and a lot of it. But I'm excited to see what's happening next with this chapters, because we're getting very close.
We're getting there, and you'll see my reaction to things.
And I think that's the cool thing about these books is there's so much different interpretation, especially with all these chapters. Like, you might think of it one way, but then it slowly switches to a different perception. Some things you might have gotten right, some things you might have gotten totally wrong. We're going to have to find it out. I know people are probably, like, screaming at their podcast machines right now.
You know how you have to, like, crank up your podcast machine? I mean, with the cylinders, I guess.
So we're going to be having a new store soon where you can buy only vintage podcasting equipment and stuff.
Yep. With, like, a giant gramophone.
Yep, and it's going to have a logo imprinted on, like, the cone.
That would be great. I just imagine people walking around with, like a giant gramophone, like, attached to a wagon, and they're just listening to it, like, oh yeah, I love podcasts. They're great.
I just imagine, like, a big old, like, boombox, as well as, like, something like a movie from the 80s where a guy's, like, holding it. And they're just, like, listening to our show.
Fight the power. Good Do the Right Thing reference. Before we get to listener correspondence, we kind of wanted to touch on a little bit of a serious thing, which is that our listenership has grown a lot, even in just the last few weeks, really. It's been growing a lot. We've been getting a lot of listener correspondence, whether it be on Twitter. Yes, of course. We love the feedback we get. We get, all sorts of iTunes reviews and emails, and it's really great that you guys want to engage with us. So yeah, we want to touch on a bit of a safety issue with the email.
We've been, growing in listenership a lot, and we really appreciate that, as well as our correspondence has been truly amazing. We get messages every day, and we love it, and we share it, and we laugh. And, we just love every single message that we get. We consider you guys all friends, but with our popularity, we do have to kind of talk about an issue, because we've been getting this from several people, not just one individual. We've been getting a lot of personal information from a lot of listeners, such as telephones, emails, as well as mailing addresses, because they want us to ask us to send us things, and unfortunately we have to step away from that. We can't take any personal information, not because we don't want to, but because both fighting demigods is that, we just want to protect everybody a little bit here from the kindly ones and
that are lurking about. You can't always trust people online, and we kind of don't want to normalize the idea of giving that kind of information out to people. I know that you guys consider us friends and you trust us, but it's still like we don't feel comfortable having that kind of information given to us. So like we don't need your phone numbers, we don't need any kind of mailing address stuff. We unfortunately don't have a PO box for you to send us stuff, because that kind of like costs like a monthly fee, and our personal addresses, we might get a PO box depending on sort of if we had like the sort of Patreon funds or something to do it, or we'll consider something like that. But as far as like our personal addresses, we've also gotten emails, people asking like what my birth name is, which is not something I feel comfortable sharing online. So just in general, there's sort of like a personal information thing where we kind of keep our private life private, and we want you guys to do the same. Even though we want to be friends, we want to still be approachable to you.
Yeah, we want to keep, public life public and our private life private, much as, you guys probably, if someone randomly came up to you and just asked you for like, hey, where do you live and what's your phone number?
What's your social security number? That would be incredibly funny if someone gave us their social security number for no particular reason.
For anyone that's listening that, might be taken aback by this, we're still very approachable. You can send us emails anytime we want. There's just certain things that we will not reply to or acknowledge. We'll actually either save them for archival reasons, as well as, but we're not going to like look at them or anything. Like, we glance at every email. Don't get that wrong. We don't skip emails. We read them all. We really appreciate every single one of them, but we have to keep ourselves protected as well as we want to keep you guys protected, because there's a lot of like McGruff, the crime dog, stranger danger stuff out in there in the world.
And we also we're fully aware that a lot of you guys out there, you're really like young listeners, and weirdo 20-year-olds who are still talking about children's literature, and it just we don't think it's super appropriate to like have that kind of dialogue with people who are like preteens.
Though, if you guys do want any specific questions answered, we do have our Patreon page where if you pledge a couple dollars, we could make our own special episode just for you guys, just answering any information you want to know.
Do like a Q&A, just as long as it's not like
it's within reason. You send us the
within
messages.
reason.
Yes.
Yeah, not our social security number, any of that kind of stuff. That would be really funny. Again,
So mine is 00003. I'm old, so it's up there.
the first one, they just crank that ticket out. They're like, you're the third one. Yeah, Zach is actually 2,000 years old.
Yay! To be fair, I don't even know what my social security number is off the top of my head. I know like the first, like, 3 letters.
No, I don't know mine either. I don't.
So joke's on you, robbers, trying to steal our social identities.
You can't steal my social security number. I can't even. If you interrogated me, I couldn't tell you what it was.
But yeah, we just wanted to give like a little serious little message. We don't normally do stuff like this unless it's something serious, but it has come to our attention, and you know what? We really love you guys. We love you guys as much as like we're a big old family, and we're just all your guys' friends.
Yeah, we want you guys to stay safe.
Did you get any messages this week, B?
I actually didn't, I don't think. I'm just double checking. If someone like added me, I don't think anybody did. Not this week. I know that you got a few things.
So we got a message from Alyssa. So we got a message from Elisa. Hey, Zach and B, I'm so glad I found your podcast. I've always loved Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus and all the other works by Rick Riordan. I agree in your episode 0 that his side story, I'm doing quotation marks right now, side stories are like accidentally
Yeah, you can't do air quotes.
I mean, I can, but it'd be really hard.
No one can see.
Are like accidentally published fan fictions. I even have my own custom Camp Half-Blood shirt with my last name and Cabin 7 on it. Thank you guys for doing this, and I wait excitedly for more episodes. Keep doing what you're doing. Memento Mori, Elisa.
Remember, you will die. I definitely want a Camp Half-Blood shirt, or like specifically a Radio Camp Half-Blood shirt would be great. Also, that reminds me that we need to definitely take that like which cabin are you quiz, because I'd be really interested to see what I would get.
We're slow. I think once we finish the book, I think it might be a better way of doing it, just because we'll understand.
Yeah, once we're done with this book, probably do that quiz and also do the movie.
And there'll be like a nice little transition into book 2 and so on and so forth. We're going to be doing it. Don't you worry. It's happening. It's just there's so much craziness. B, do you want to read the second part of that email that we found was really funny?
Yeah. Also from Alyssa. Hey, Zach and B. Hi, I'm Alyssa, and I'm 14, and love your podcasts. I couldn't help but tell you this. I have asthma, and I have to bring it everywhere. I think it being an inhaler. And my friends call it medical vape. We were doing sectionals once in band, and I was having an asthma attack, and my friend goes, go get your medical vape. Thought you should know. Love your podcast. Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, I've had to use an inhaler also. I've never called it. I feel like vaping wasn't really as much of a thing when I had to use an inhaler. The one time I got really bad, like lung infection thing. But still, I think, have I told this story? Yeah, where I tripped and fell while holding an inhaler and dropped it on the ground, and I felt incredibly, like, cartoon nerd-esque. So I relate to that.
Oh no, my inhaler and my Coke bottle glasses.
My medical vape. Oh no.
So we got another email from Chris. I just want it to be known that I only saw Avatar once in theaters and once at home. I actually hate the movie very much. I'm just a wellspring of useless knowledge. Same.
This is the person who sent us the email with the different Avatar characters.
Yes,
right?
And you know what? This person's like near and dear to my heart, and I should like go over to where they are and just high five them spiritually.
I love that you somehow remembered their names. I saw it in theaters and I don't remember anything. It was like Men in Black, memory erasing. I don't remember anything.
It is too perfect because I can remember like weird like bits and pieces of the movie visually, except for the part where like they're playing Flight of the Valkyries and then blowing up the tree because I was just laughing.
Yeah. I don't even remember that part. I don't remember a lot of that.
That's the part where they blow up the gigantic Smurf tree.
Oh, I remember the Smurf tree. I just don't remember the music. Do you know what's weird, actually, about... I can't remember almost any of the plot of Avatar, but I can remember when I first saw Avatar and, like, what mall I was in, and that I had a conversation with the people at the smoothie kiosk and how they were talking about how the two of them had just started dating. Like, I remember that whole day, but then as soon as I walked into the theater, I just went blank. I don't know.
I think it's Jim Cameron. He has this weird indoctrination thing. So for all we know, we're all sleeper agents now. He just has to, say Klaatu Barada Nikto, and world domination.
I'm sure that's a reference to something, but I don't get it.
So everyone knows that reference. Email me, even though it's a very obvious reference. Except it's been used in several things. So tell me the original version that was used from.
I mean, there's Google, but yeah.
Oh, there is Google. Yes. He's like drinking coffee, and like behind him, the way that I can remember this whole scene, and it's stupid. I don't know his name, but it's like he's drinking coffee in like this little ship, and like the way that the light is being poured through, it looks like the American flag. I poop you not. And they're listening to Fly the
You almost...
They're listening to Fly the Valkyries, and then they just start bombing the stupid tree. I haven't seen this movie since it was in theaters. I've only seen it once in my life.
They really thought that was like a really compelling scene too, I bet. All right, enough of dunking on Avatar, I think. What's our next listener correspondence?
So we got one from Logan. What they say.
Logan Lerman?
Maybe. That'd be kind of cool,
Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be totally unbelievable if it was actually Logan Lerman?
Well, if it was Logan Lerman, I'd be like, hey, Logan, you want to come on the show? And maybe he would be like Ryan Reynolds and like totally like bash on the movie like he does with Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So from Logan, they write, hello, I have a question for you. If you were to be a demigod, who do you think that your godly parents would be and why? I myself am a child of Athena, but I am a hunter. I love your show so far. Sincerely, Logan.
We kind of talked about this, that we're gonna take the quiz to see. I don't really know them off the top of my head, so it's like hard for me. What's like the goddess of like art again?
Not art. There is not God. There is a goddess of art. I just can't remember that one. But you're thinking about the Smarty Pants cabin, right?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Smarty Pants one.
Oh, that's Raven Athena Cabin Claw. I mean, I'm so sorry, Athena Cabin. Oh, I got wait, Ravenclaw, isn't that from Harry Potter? There's no way that these two are similar whatsoever.
Yeah.
Except that they're smart, and that Athena represents usually an owl, and Rowena Ravenclaw represents usually an eagle.
Which is silly because
or
ravens.
A raven.
I mean, yeah, we'll take that quiz and we'll get a better answer because that's just my guess. But maybe it's something else. Who knows?
So thank you so much, Logan. We really appreciate your email. I think that kind of does it with the emails, but we do have one new iTunes review. So we have an iTunes review from Bored Housewife 2. Great podcast for all ages, but they do get sidetracked, cryy face. I just love this podcast. Heart emoji, blowing kiss, heart emoji.
Yeah, we do get sidetracked. I feel like that's our brand at this point. That's kind of why we do what we do.
I mean, we could easily talk about the plot, but we're talking about 20 pages of a book. How do we expand it out to be like an hour of content, if that? Like, there's like two ways of thinking about this. With being sidetracked, we actually got a great little thing from Helene. In the last podcast, you questioned why you are so popular. I think it's because you are just two friends talking about books you like. And with all the references and stuff, we listeners feel like we get to know you better every week. So keep doing what you're doing.
I like the doing. You need like an apostrophe there. Not doing what we're doing what we're doing.
Doing what you're doing.
We'll do both. Yeah, we've mentioned this before. We plan to do this podcast for a while, so we're kind of in it for the long haul.
I mean, it's weird. It's like, especially with like internet personalities, like you get to like really learn about a person that way, and you get, like, you think you might know everything about them, but then something surprises you. Like I think the best one was I still am a huge fan of James Rolfe, who does the Angry Video Game Nerd, and I had watched him probably up to about like almost 10 years until I realized he had a tattoo. I was like, what? No, he just always wore like a certain cut of shirt until he started.
Oh, I guess that's true.
But it was like, it's like a weird thing. Like you'll notice something or like you find out things. It's like, there's an episode of The Goldbergs where Murray Goldberg, like they're talking to him. He's like telling him, oh yeah, I was in the army. I knew Lou Reed. Like weird stuff. Like they didn't think that their dad was interesting whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what kind of lore there is out there about us, like listeners. Like, oh, I wonder. I know that like there's sort of like a mystique around the fact that I go by just a first initial, but
Well, I want to tell you, listeners, the reason why is that B is a secret agent, and if we give them their name, they'll be compromised.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that right, Black Widow?
Shh. What if it's Batman? What if it stands for Batman?
Batman.
Bruce Wayne. Same thing.
Bruce Banner. Double B's.
Yeah. Yeah, the B stands for Bruce Banner.
Or you know what it stands for now, B? It stands for IHOB, the International House of B.
Oh, it stands for burgers. I'm the B in IHOB. That's my job.
Oh, you prepared the burgers now?
You've hired me to be the official B. Oh, no, I don't make the burgers. I just am the burgers.
So you tell me the International House of Pancakes make their good old burgers out of human people?
Yeah, International House of Me. It's about me.
Great. No, so IHOP is a bunch of cannibals? Is that what we're saying?
Oh, no, yeah, no, they don't devour. I'm just like a mascot. I'm like, yeah, I'm like Ronald McDonald. I'm just the B in IHOB.
I just imagine you dress up as like Gene, like in the gigantic burger suit.
But I just have a bee on my head also. Yeah. We're really not dating this episode at all, for sure. They're definitely gonna stay IHOB and they're not gonna change that back, and it's definitely not a weird, like, publicity stunt. Yeah, it's definitely not a publicity stunt. And this doesn't completely narrow down our recording time to specifically like mid-June in 2018.
So exactly Tuesday, June 14th at 1:21 p.m.
Well, it's 4:21 p.m. here.
Hey, nice.
Just missed it by a number.
But yeah, thanks guys for all the wonderful messages we got, and thank you guys for understanding, our little public service that we had to give. Anything else, B?
I think that's it. Yeah, I'm really excited and happy with all the new listeners we've been getting, all the feedback. I'm really glad that people like the show.
Yeah, everyone's been like coming out of the woodworks right now. It's just like we kind of missed the novel times when it was just me and B just making funny jokes and stuff. But
yeah, just us in a room. I mean, we're not in a single room actually. We're both in separate rooms. Yeah, our cover art is a lie.
If we look out the window, there's just like a cloud that looks like B, and then they look out their window and they see like a cloud of me. It's like that SpongeBob thing.
Yeah, like Simba, I am with you in your heart.
But this pod is not a home. I can't do this without you.
It's just a greasy spoon. Yeah, okay.
It's just
check off your SpongeBob reference on your bingo boards, you guys.
You.
I'm not gonna even acknowledge that joke by singing along with you.
And fries will be fries. Well, I'm Zach.
I'm B.
And keep staying mortal. Bye.
Bye, guys.